Welcome to Flat Out Racing Bets. My name is Anita Hurst. This is David Hurst. And today we're going to flip the script on you a little bit, where I am the host and David is the guest. Today, we are going to take this from the perspective of somebody, myself, who has never bet on a NASCAR race. And I'm going to ask David some questions to help us understand how to make the most of our NASCAR bets. David, first question for you is odds. I've looked at some different betting sites, and next to our NASCAR drivers, there are numbers, which I come to understand are odds. What does that mean? What does it mean when a driver is plus 1200 for the Daytona 500?
That's a really good question. You're a fan of Tyler Reddick, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you were looking to bet him at the Daytona 500 upcoming here, I think the line is plus 1400. So what that means is if you bet a dollar on Tyler Reddick to win, you would get $14 in return. And that would multiply $10, $140 in return. So that's what that means. It's just what you'll get back after you place your bet. So every dollar multiplies by 14 for Tyler Reddick in that situation.
Okay. So based on that, how do you decide who to bet for? So if it's asking you to pick the winner for the Daytona 500 and you've got all these names and all these different numbers, how do I make the best decision? Because maybe someone has really good odds versus bad. That's a lot of numbering. How do I handicap is the term, but what's the best way to make a good decision?
Number one is for people like you and I who watched the sport over for 40 years, we have an idea of who to bet. A newcomer might say, hey, I'm betting Kyle Larson. Why not? He's the best driver in NASCAR, right? I'm betting Kyle Larson to win Daytona 500. But you and I both know that's a bad bet. He's more than likely to wreck out on the super speedway races. What I like to do is go to racingreference.com, and then you can plug in all your information for every sort of track, and that's going to spit out who's best at those tracks. It's going to give you your average finish, how many top fives the driver has at that track, how many top tens. Another thing it will show you is how many points the guy gets at the race, which is very important at the super speedway races, because how many times do they have a 20 car crash and your favorite driver might finish, in the low 20s, 30th, last, but he was actually leading the race for most of the race. So that will give you the points, and that shows you that, hey, this guy's winning stages. He's up there. He's just getting some bad luck. So that's what I like to do. I like to use Racing Reference, and it has a lot of information. And of course, knowledge, your racing knowledge. That's probably number one.
Okay. So sometimes it's not just about the odds. Do the odds in these the betting platforms, do they always take all of that data into consideration, or is it just taking into consideration how other people are currently betting?
Where the money comes in will dictate your what the line is. A lot of people like to say I would bet Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin. They're always going to have lower lines. They're always going to be plus 400, plus 500, just because they're favorites. People bet on them. So that's why it's our job here at this website here. We're always trying to find value. We're always trying to find a guy that could sneak in there. And you witnessed yourself last year. We placed a bet for Ross Chastain at plus 2,500 and cashed on it. So always just trying to find something. I don't know that these websites are as caught up with NASCAR as they are with football, basketball. There, it's really hard to make money. NASCAR, man, we can make some money. That's why I like to bet NASCAR. It's a good place to make money. It's like horse racing. Get some really good odds.
Awesome. How do you know if you should or should not make a bet? So when I look at betting sites, sometimes there are lots of different types of bets that you could make. It's not just whether or not someone's going to win a race. Sometimes there are bet options where it's we'll pick this guy versus this guy. Which do you think is going to do better? Or they have all different types of bets. So maybe talk to me a little bit about what are the different types of NASCAR bets that we typically see? And then how do you decide or give us some tips on when do you know, hey, that's a good bet, I'm going to take it, versus, ooh, that's not a good bet, I'm not going to take that one?
I like to make my bets, especially for race wins. I like to keep them over plus 500, 5 to 1 odds. So if we bet $10, we win 50. I don't like to bet it plus 200 where you're only doubling your money. I don't like that. That's too risky because NASCAR is anything can happen. Anything can happen. So it's hard to win races. The best driver only wins 4 or 5 times a year. So it's really hard. You can't bet Kyle Larson every race. And so we gotta we gotta find different lines. I like it. Let's say we got a guy that we like. Let's say we chase Elliott for a race, and he's got 10 to 1 odds, but you don't think he's going to win the race. But you think he could have a good day, so we could bet him for a top 5, and then the line will drop down to maybe plus 250 or whatever. But we can still make some money off that, and we got better chances of a top 5 or a top 10 in that situation. I like to do that. I also like to use that racing reference because it's going to give average finish of the driver, and we can use those in race matchups. So when we see a discrepancy, when we see one guy that's got, maybe his average finish is 12, and we see another guy average finish 18, and they're actually matched up against each other, then we can jump on that. We can hit that pretty hard. The lines won't be as good there. It's even money. It'll probably be like minus 110, which means you're actually, if you bet $10, you're only going to win like $19.75. So you're not going to make a lot of money on driver matchups, but that's one thing we can do. We don't always have to bet wins.
Okay, that's really helpful. Any other final tips for a first time NASCAR better?
Yeah, don't blow your load. Don't blow your load. If you've got $50 set aside for the week, or I don't know, everybody's different. Some people have hundreds of dollars they're betting. Some people just have dollars they're betting. For you and I, we're not breaking the bank. We're just betting minimal bets. Let's not. If you got $100 set aside for betting, don't use up the $100 in one week. Don't be making outrageous bets, $100 for the guy to win, because you're going to lose. You're going to lose. We've had weeks. How many weeks have we sat here and watched NASCAR where the driver I bet takes the white flag in the lead, but he doesn't win the race? So you have to be extremely careful. So I would try to just make all your wagers the same: $3, $5, $10, $20, but don't go crazy. No, don't go crazy. $100 bets, that's out of control. It's going to be tough. You may hit it, but you're not going to be able to do that weekly. So I like to have a betting limit. Maybe it's $10 per unit, and what a unit is just that's your bet. So my unit could be $10, your unit could be $5. But if I tell you to bet 2 units on this car, that means I'm betting 20, you're betting 10. But we know the units, so I would. That's what I would do. Just set a very reasonable goal. Don't go crazy. Don't be betting all your money. It's not going to work. You're just going to end up getting frustrated, and you won't be with us at Atlanta betting the next race. That's for sure.
Great. Thank you so much for that advice. Really appreciate it. To all of our viewers, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for doing this today.
Absolutely.